Well, thank you, everyone. It's been lovely to just hear a little bit of your introductions and about your schools and settings. And I'm going to come over now to Rachel from Lakeside so that Rachel can give us a bit of an update about what you can do to connect with her. Over to you, Rachel.
Thank you, lovely. I'm just going to put a little link in the chat. So I'm Rachel. I'm the learning manager here at Lakeside, and I just wanted to talk to you very briefly about the most amazing exhibition that we currently have, which is called Reimagining Victorians. So it's a very contemporary twist on Victorian life and culture, using contemporary artists. It's a very big nod about colonialism, so it's quite a good one in terms of that way in. Everything from taxidermy right through to photography and film. The taxidermy that we do have in there, just to let you know, it has been sourced properly, so no animals died with the new works. For the new contemporary works, it's all been sourced properly, and so yeah, they it's either been roadkill or that's been given to them by gamekeepers and things like that. It hasn't, nobody has died for the making of new work, but just to give you the heads up, there is work in there from the Victorian period, so just to let you know. It's a real nod to kind of women as well, women through history, particularly women that were overlooked, particularly at that time, that really helped support science and the development of science. So there's definitely a nod to that, but we are doing some incredible workshops around it. Potentially more to Yinka's, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so I apologise up front. Shonibare, I think.
It's Shonibare.
Shonibare, that's it, thank you. And his work is incredible. The first gallery that you go in is all about his work. And we are going to be doing some stuff around Dutch wax prints and fabrics and weaving and things like that, as well as a real kind of unpicking a little bit on British Empire as well. So they're definitely ones to kind of pop in if you're interested. We've got some incredible artists that I work with, and they're going to do some 2-hour intensive workshops. This is brilliant if they're looking at GCSE art, but if they're looking at history and stuff as well, it really kind of crosses over. And obviously if they're doing A-level and stuff as well, it kind of ticks all of those boxes. We'll be definitely looking about different techniques that they can show, but really about unpicking and questioning works of art, and also kind of the relationship that we have. So a lot of the work that's in there, like I say, is a very contemporary twist. So some of it is about kind of that acknowledgement of our past and having to confront that a little bit, but some of it is also just about looking at some of the techniques that were used at that time. So some of the photography was original kind of 1900 kind of photography that was done with big plates and things, so there's definitely a nod to that as well. So it's definitely worth coming along to see if you get a chance. It's all free. Obviously, if you do want to workshop with an artist, then there is a little charge for that. But if you wanted to come in and just have a look round and actually do something self-led, as long as you kind of drop me a line. Thursdays and Fridays are the best days for those, because that's when I can get a space for you. So if you wanted to come, we're just off the tram route. If you get off at Nottingham University, we're right there. So you can come, but like, give us a heads up, because obviously I've got other schools coming in. But if I know you're coming, and you know, I know finances are tricky, and you wanted to do something a little bit self-led, let me know, and I can make space available for that to happen, and hopefully try and arrange for you to have a little bit of a chat or a talk to kind of kickstart the exhibition off, just so that you can then pick it a little bit more yourselves. Some of the pieces are very fragile. So if you are coming as a group, you might need to go make it even smaller. I would recommend no more than about 6 of you going in at a time. So you might need to stagger it if you are bringing a class size.
And what are the dates, Rachel?
It's on now, and it closes, I think, first week in January. So it's on for a nice piece of time. So it's a really good chance for you to have a good look round. And like I say, I will be putting up on our website later on next week, just the kind of menu that you can have a look at. So some of the things that we're offering in terms of school, It's a really lovely way in, and yeah, I'll share you a little bit more kind of photos and stuff that aren't there, just to kind of whet the appetite a little bit. I'll put all of that online.
Amazing. That sounds great. And it's a bit of a blast from the past for me, because I worked with Yinka Shonibare 25 years ago. Can you believe it? It was like my first job in the arts.
Oh, wow. He's incredible,
yeah.
and his works are amazing. But just to kind of let you know, there is there's one picture. It's absolutely massive, and there's a little bit of rudeness in there, just to kind of you don't see anything, but there's a definite suggestion that something's taken place, just in case.
Good to know.
Give you a little warning. It's good to know. It's good to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to know what that is, they can phone me. I'll let them know.
Oh, great. Just generally for the teachers that are here, how are you feeling about doing trips out, taking your students out on visits? Is it something that you feel able to do now that we're a bit more normal in terms of post-COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I have to and absolutely want to do, and it's part of my job role to make sure we get students out. My head said to me, if I've got teachers moaning that you're taking them out all the time, then you're doing your job.
Okay.
So, especially for our students, and there are so many gaps in childhood and general knowledge and learning of the world, that all of this is so important. And that sounds absolutely fantastic what you're offering at the Lakeside, so I'd definitely be interested, and also been given a budget, so have got money for artists as well.
Yeah,
just to say great. Sorry, Kathy, just to say we do go into school as well. So if you do want an associate artist to come into school, we do that as well, because we will travel. But it's helpful if you've seen an exhibition. But if there's also, if you're looking at if they are looking at a particular area within visual arts, I'm thinking more, and there's a particular technique that you want, then there's obviously a lot of artists that we can then arrange to come into school. So if that is sometimes, I know that sometimes transport is an issue, and I know it becomes really tricky. They can get here on their own steam with the tram, it's helpful, but I appreciate not all schools are nearby. So and if you're not on a tram route, it does become expensive to try and get transport.
Yeah. It's good. Mandy from Long Eaton has said that cost of transport has shot up, but that schools are very supportive. So that's good to hear that schools are supportive of you.
We've been told really that they want to try and get the sixth formers out a bit more, because they seem to be the neglected sort of group. Right. I mean, I think it's been easy for me, because obviously we'll go to see degree shows, and we've taken them to Birmingham Jewellery Quarter and things like that. But yeah, they're trying to encourage, obviously, the especially with pupil premium and students like that with cultural, you know, just get them involved in anything that they've got no experience of, which a lot of them haven't, you know, been to galleries or been to theatres or done that before. So they do want them out there as much as possible, but obviously then you're then restricted very much, that they don't really want the 13s going out, they don't really want the 11s going out. And you know, they're the ones who perhaps need it the most, because to sort of broaden their horizons a bit. But you know, we still, I think things are returning to normal from that front. But it purely boils down to cost for a lot of us, because with the school budgets being squeezed as well, it is very much, we don't like really to ask the students for a lot of money, because there's not a lot of money around. And then there's also not the budgets around that there used to be within schools. So we sort of try and find where we can to get involved with projects that are supported, or you know, but the will's there.
The Tramnet are still being really good. They will take a class for about 50 quid. So it's, even if they are young adults, as long as you book it through the school and let them know that you're coming, you know, you're bringing a class on the tram or whatever, they're pretty good. And that does make it a little bit more affordable. I appreciate it's tricky, but that makes it a little bit more easier if you don't need an artist the other end, if you know what I mean. If it's really just a couple of quid each to kind of get you there and back, and then be a little bit more self-led in terms of that inquiry. But it really depends. Obviously, I'm not going to not push the my artists out, because they are incredible and they're worth every single penny, and I would love to give them the work, but I appreciate, you know what I mean, when you're having to make those really quite tricky decisions, you know, sometimes just getting them to use that as a springboard for their own work and inquiries is really exciting.
Yeah, the fact they've got Yinka Shonibare's work there is, we've been sort of using him as a subject matter for quite a few of our projects. I'd be itching to take our students to go and see
that first room is all him.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm there anyway.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Are there any other questions for Rachel before we move on? And thank you to Mandy for jotting in the chat about you know, your experience with travel and things, and wanting to stay local and avoid the huge costs of getting to London these days. I think it's so important that all teachers and all kids growing up in Nottingham get that sense of where they are and what the local cultural venues are, because really most of them are publicly funded and are theirs. Really, they should feel right to be able to go to these places. So yeah, we're really wanting to support how you do that.
And also, I just have to say that some of the work that's local is incredible. You don't have to go to London to see amazing things on your doorstep. And I would say that in all cultural venues, you know, there's some really amazing things happening right now. And I know it's tricky. You don't always look what's next to you, because there's a sense of awe and wonder about going somewhere else culturally as well. But in terms of as a resource to use, looking at the cultural partners and just in terms of what they have to offer, they're all changing. We are thinking and changing and working differently about definitely the relationship that we want to help and develop with schools, and more importantly, embedding it so it becomes much more crucial to the way that you're learning. So you know what I mean? So that actually it's not just an add-on or a hook to get them in. It's really about trying to think about it slightly differently.
Brilliant. Wow. I'm going to come over now, if that's okay, to Caroline. So Caroline's fairly new at Nonsuch, aren't you, Caroline? And it's your first one of these meetings. So I'm really pleased that you could join us today. I don't know if anyone's ever worked with Nonsuch Studios before, but they're an amazing organisation. So I'm going to hand over to Caroline to give a bit of an overview of what you're up to at the moment.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm Caroline. I'm the new Community Engagement Coordinator here at Nonsuch Studios. So yeah, there's a few things that I wanted to sort of flag and let you know about that we're currently offering or wanting to sort of share more and reach more young people. But just to let you know who Nonsuch are, we are a fringe theatre venue, but we have a very big community programme where we work with partners and we work with schools predominantly to provide theatre-based arts activity and immersive learning. Our motto is about creativity being power, and we work with early years to primary school age, secondary and older and beyond, where we also deliver regular classes for adults in acting and script reading as well. So in terms of secondary, I wanted to let you know about our Not Youth Trends. So this is a project that we've been running for the past few years with the University of Nottingham. And this is, it's basically a giant survey of collecting data of youth voice in Nottingham. How this works is that young people aged 11 to 25 fill out this survey. It takes about 20 minutes and it captures the trends of youth at this moment, in this year, in this location. And what we do with that data is we collate it and then share that with the schools, with the organisations, with partners, to really capture what is happening for young people right here and right now. The deadline for that survey is coming up for the half term, and we're asking teachers to please share this and spend 20 minutes of afternoon registration with young people to fill this out. then all of that anonymous data we can then take back to the school to tell you, this is what your young people are thinking about, this is what they're interested in, this is what they're not interested in. So I'll share the link for that in the chat as well. Oh,
and for anyone just watching the video that can't see the chat, I think if you Google Notts Youth Trends and Nonsuch, it'll come up, won't it?
Yeah,
in a Google search.
Notyouthtrends.com is how to find that one.
Yeah.
As part of that as well, we also do focus groups where we come into schools and community groups to just delve a bit deeper and ask a few more questions. So if you've got a class that you think particularly outspoken or are perhaps particularly underrepresented and are really passionate to have their voices heard, we'd love to come in and deliver one of those focus groups with some of your young people. So please do drop me a line or a message here and we can talk about how we can do that. So that's Youth Trends. I also wanted to tell you about a 6-week project that's actually starting today, but we're really eager to get a few more young people involved starting next week. It's a 6-week project which we're doing in partnership with a local theatre company called Chronic Insanity, and it's a free 6-week theatre project after school for 11 to 15-year-olds, sorry, 12 to 15-year-olds, where they can learn more about theatre making, acting, devising, set design, lighting, sort of get the idea of the whole process of how to make theatre. And that's generously funded by the Arts Council. There's also travel bursaries. So for those who may not otherwise be able to get to Nonsuch studios, there's also money there to help young people get to us. So again, I would love it if anyone works particularly in sort of performing arts and theatre and would be happy to share that with their young people. I'll send some information across to you as well. And then lastly, we were talking about those sixth formers who desperately need more culture or art in their lives. We've also launched our young person performance training program, which runs every Tuesday evening. That is at a cost to the young people, but we do also offer a pay what you can bursary for that as well. So please don't let that put those sixth formers off from getting involved. So that's for the 16 plus people. So that's what we're offering at the moment. Sorry, I've probably gone over my time. So yes, we also go into schools to run sessions as well. So if you're interested in getting involved in any of our projects, let us know. Thank you. Is there anyone?
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Caroline?
We'd definitely be in touch. That's something that's brilliant. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I think the girls at our school would love to express their opinion. They're very good at it in a very positive in a very positive way. They're very good. They're quite heavily involved with the youth council and things like that. But it'd be quite nice to actually have a different group of students rather than the ones who are constantly the ones doing all the discussing, to actually come in and have a chat with, because they're good. They're good at expressing themselves.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. Excellent. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, if you're happy to put your emails in the chat so Caroline can follow up with you, that'd be brilliant. Thank you. So we're going to come over now to Katie, who's joining us. Katie's an artist, and also, well, I'll let you say what you do, but we're really pleased that she's joined us today, because we've kind of split these culture meets. So from now on, we're going to have our updates from arts providers, oh, excuse me, in the first half an hour, and then a skill share, and bring in some different kind of people that can share some techniques and things that they do, and talk about how you might be able to kind of look at various different techniques and options for you to do in the classroom. So over to you, Katie. It's really great that you're here again, and I'd love to see what you've got to share.
Hi, Kathy, and hi everybody. Absolutely brilliant to hear about the great things going on in Nottingham. So yeah, I'm Katie Sandoval, and I call myself an artist/teacher because I was a teacher in secondary school as a head of art for 10 years, and now I do my own art practice and combine that with basically taking all of my teaching into a range of venues, from art centres, museums, cultural venues, and anybody who really wants to have some creative experiences to develop their own creativity, essentially. So I'm sitting here in my bedroom/studio. I also have a studio at Backlit Studios in Nottingham. I did hear somebody mention that they were doing some bits of work with them as well. And I've been working with Creativity Collaboratives, the project that Kathy mentioned, and during that time I've done 3 artist residencies in primary schools, and for those I've been developing a technique called cyanotype photography, which you may or may not have heard of. I'd heard of it when I was teaching, and in all the time I was teaching I tried it once and never went back to it, and now that I have sort of more time to explore that, I've recognised that this technique is brilliant for all age groups, all levels of ability. I've taught this technique to students at Nottingham University, and I've also done it with students at Rosehill Special School, children with severe autism, etc., of all ages. So this technique is suitable, I'd say, from the age of 3 upwards. I have actually done it with 3-year-olds, okay, and the results are quite amazing. So this technique, I'm going to switch to my Hue visualizer, hoping it works properly. So just excuse me a minute while I do that, and see if we can see by the magic. Nope. Nope. Ta-da! Right, now I'm going to share the screen. Share. No, can we see my screen yet? Not yet.
Not yet.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right. Any good? No.
Yeah, I think it's coming up. Yeah, we can see ourselves.
You can see yourself, so that's good. So then we just want to go over to here. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll go into full screen and hope for the best. There we go. Okay, so these are what cyanotypes look like. They're basically cameraless photographs that are made by using the light of the sun. And this is a process that was invented in the 1800s, the combination of a chemist and a botanist coming together because she wanted to record her collections of algae, and he was obviously a chemist developing different types of chemicals, etc. I'm just going to, before I talk too much about it, I just want to just show you what it looks like essentially. This is a piece of paper, this photographic paper, and it's coated with this light sensitive coating, which then you're exposed to light. But I'm just going to show you through, just so you can have a little glance through at them first. So basically I go out into the garden or wherever I am, and I collect little pieces of any material that I find. It can be leaves, it can be stems, it can be seeds, and I can use them as sort of pressed items, but I can also just use them loosely. You can, of course, use absolutely anything to make these. This is like a little shell. And what's really amazing about it is that you really don't know how each one is going to turn out. So each one is really unique depending on how you place things, where you place things, the light conditions at the time, the weather, because obviously you're using sunlight from the outside. So all of these things come into it. So it really lends itself to that sense of experimentation and wonder, which I think, you know, sadly is probably lacking in a lot of things today. You can, of course, add in other items, man-made items, and have to be natural things. You can add in pieces of paper. You can basically use anything at all to make them. And these are just a selection that I've made, you know, over the last few months, and these are just kind of my ideas, and obviously every person that makes their cyanotypes does it slightly differently. So as you go on, you can sort of start to really I guess develop your own aesthetic, which is what I've noticed that children start to do. So I'm just going to show you how it actually works in practice. This is the Blue Peter bit. So I've got just a tray of water. It doesn't have to be one of these cooking trays, but I just find them quite good because they're easy to, very portable and disposable. And I've just got a little bit of water there, about 500 ml of water. And I've got my ready exposed cyanotype equipment here. So I've just got a piece of wood here, A5 size. You could use just a piece of cardboard. I've got a piece of the cyanotype paper, and then I've got my leaves laid out, and then I've got a little piece of acrylic plastic. I get this plastic from Amazon, and I've got a couple of little bulldog clips. You don't have to have this acrylic plastic. If it's not windy, you can just leave the stuff on the top, but if it's windy, it's useful, or if it's slightly damp out there, it's useful to have that. So this one's that I've just been leaving this out in the sun for well over half an hour. Usually in the summer, 15 minutes is enough. The darker the light is outside, the longer you need to expose it for. I'm just going to take the plastic off, and then I'm going to take the leaves off. This is the part that the children absolutely love. So when you take things off, you can see a latent sort of ghost-like image. The paper's actually coated on both sides. So when you first take it out of a bag, and I'll just show you what the bag looks like. The bag is actually like this. It's excuse the noise. This is a little sealed, light, safe bag. So it comes in a little bag like that. You take it out of the bag, and as soon as you take it out, you obviously put your objects on the top. So you leave it out in the light, minimum 15 minutes. You can leave them for up to hours and hours, depending on the results. But the longer you leave it, the darker generally it goes. I put it into the water, pop it into the water, and then you can see it starts to change. Oh, now look at this. Something's gone wrong. It's totally disappeared. That doesn't happen very often. So but this can happen, but this has only ever happened to me twice, so not happy about that. Normally when you take it off, it should just go darker. So you know what's happened here is this piece of paper was actually from an old packet, so clearly the light's got in and it hasn't worked. Let's try another one, because I've done another one, and let's see if this one comes out. So you can see the texture. It should just no.
Oh no, what a shame.
Well, I've never ever had that happen. So something's happened to that packet of paper. I apologize, everybody. This is highly embarrassing. Luckily, I've done it with about 600 children, and that hasn't happened before. So clearly, I've got some dud paper. Right. Well, we'll put that over there. But you know something? In many of these processes, very rarely does something go wrong. But what is good about it, and I'll show you back on the ones I've already done. What is good in terms of working with children is the idea of the experiment and the unpredictable. Because if I go back through this selection here, I have, where are we? Yeah, you can see some of them, they're actually quite pale, and the children are like, well, why is it so pale? And now and again, you know, one, they have just left it out of the bag and forgotten to use it and then used it later on. And it really is learning about the step-by-step process, and being able to kind of do something with it. And sometimes can be a little bit ambiguous, and sometimes you just have to try things. And this is one of the things that the feedback I get from students and teachers is that they're very much focused on perfectionism and work being perfect. And they don't mess things up, and therefore they don't try things. So, I mean, this is one that I've tried with salt on the top and just left that to see what would happen. And it's obviously gone into this kind of yellowing and that kind of effect. So, yeah, I'm really sorry about that demonstration, but this is the nature of demonstration, and that's never really happened before. So I'll be looking into what's going on with that. As I said, it's an old, really quite old packet of paper that I got out. If you were to leave the paper out and not put anything on it, this is what you'd get. You'd get this very, very deep blue colour as well. So I'll go back to this. When it comes to the kinds of things that you can use to make the exposures, you can, of course, it's lovely to go outside with the children. So I've got this box. It's lovely to go outside with the children and spend some time collecting leaves, etc. It's lovely to sort of spend time and do stuff like pressing the leaves. So obviously autumn's a brilliant time. Right now is a really good time to go and collect seed pods and stuff like that. So obviously if you press them, that works really well because they're really flat and they give you really crisp edges. But obviously you can also go and collect things like seed pods and they'll give you quite an interesting effect. And equally, you can use sort of man-made stuff, kind of plastic bits, lace, etc., all those kinds of things. So it's good just to kind of have a stock of those. I found that you can buy these stencil sets from Amazon, and they come in loads and loads of textures. And I've yet to explore these, but I can already see that they're going to be quite interesting to work with. So it's really good as a teacher to have kind of your armory of shortcuts and things that you can do, especially for students with, with different interests and aesthetic kind of sensibilities. Having said that, they all do seem to love the collecting of leaves, etc., and kind of the variety that presents itself to them when they do have a look. I'm just going to show you what the paper looks like. So this is the make of paper. It's called cyanotype store. And it's 100% natural fibre, so it's quite thick. It's like a watercolour paper. There are cheaper papers that you can buy and they are thinner, but I would say for them to be durable at school and to be displayed and stuff, I would say this stuff's the best. It also comes in 8 by 10. So if you can afford it, you can go bigger. A packet like this is £7.99 for 10 sheets, so it is relatively expensive. But obviously once you've got the design, you could always scan it in. And do things with it digitally, like repeat it, print it out, turn it into a lino, use it to develop work, etc., etc. If you want to sort of do it in a more cost-effective way, and you've got the time, you can actually buy the chemicals, they come like this in a kit. And so all you do is you just mix these two chemicals into one chemical. And then you have to apply that and sort of in low levels of light, leave that to dry, and then you can do that. There are loads and loads of artists doing this on Instagram, if you're into Instagram, so you can see the kinds of things that they kind of do with that, and they do quite a lot of experimental things. I'm just going to go back to being myself. Get rid of that. Am I back on?
No, we can see ourselves.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. You're back.
I'm back to there. Probably share again in a minute. So where am I? Yes. So you can actually then go on and think about, okay, how would I use this if I'm doing, obviously it's absolutely great for children with special needs. It's absolutely great, but it's also absolutely great, I would say, for a student who's doing GCSE, art or photography, and particularly in the sixth form, who is rather slow to get going and slow on ideas. Because with this, instead of the usual technique, which is, the usual process, which is, research an artist and find one, then do some drawings or some basic photos, then have a think about if you have any ideas. With this, they're able to dive straight in. So for the students, also for students who do not like sitting there for the whole time, it really is quite an active process that you can get them involved in. You can set up the whole room with obviously trays of different materials that they can go and collect. And equally, they can also work on a collaborative piece. So even if you know, which I know isn't something that goes on a lot, but it's quite nice to kind of do that. So even if you're not using it for a sort of coursework piece or that kind of thing, you can do a whole class or even a whole year group could make their own. And you can put those together into a kind of mural type effect. I've got some examples of how that looks. If I'm just going to share again, presenter mode, share screen. Can we see this one?
Yeah.
Goody good. Full screen. So, oh, sorry, that's just me at Backlit Studios. So yeah, so I think a good way into this is basically going outside and collecting. I mean, these are all weeds, you know. These are all weeds. You don't need anything special, just normal weeds around the garden. That's just a bit about the history, but yeah, just touching on all the different elements of this and you know what they can do. If you then put them all together, you can start to then create something really different from what you started with. So obviously it's really good for pattern as well, which obviously works really well with both low ability students, but also with the high ability, you've got the ability to then interpret this and turn it into their own kinds of pictures. This is just, you know, an element of like the whole outside thing as well. So outside learning comes into this, which is great, you know, great for the students, and they sort of really enjoy all the different little components and elements that you can make this into. This is at one of the primary schools where, you know, we made it into like a 4A1 sort of pieces and joined them together. And currently I'm just working on putting 100 of them together, which are for this inset that we're doing on Friday. So 100 of them together. This is just a selection of the 100. And you really could go on and do more with them, just because of the way that, you know, each one's so unique, but they all have this cohesive look together. So just wanted to kind of show how those work. And in terms of the materials, as I said, you can do it with such basic materials. You really don't need a lot. It's really just the paper that you have to concentrate on getting, and just kind of the logistics of using the water and stuff. So let me just come out of there.
Amazing.
Okay, so if anybody's got any questions, very happy to sort of expand on that.
Does anyone have any questions for Katie? Or has anyone had a go at doing cyanotypes already? Has anyone tried it, or is this a new technique for you?
Yeah, I've been doing it with my A-level students actually.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And doing it by mixing the chemicals and doing it from scratch as well. With mixed results.
Yeah.
But they've got some nice pieces. I originally ordered the pre-packed ones. You can get I bought a set actually from Nottingham Contemporary. They'd got some cyanotype paper with fabrics as well. So I got some of those, and then we sort of developed our own ones as well. But we've been using acetates as well as sort of natural forms. But obviously I'm doing nature projects with my year 10s, so I think I might, like you say, it's autumn now, get them out of their classroom and go and do something.
Yeah, that's right. And I did mean to say, although I don't personally use acetates, you can basically print any image onto a sheet of acetate and use that as your kind of negative. So for the light to go through. And
we've been playing around with positive and negative images and things like that.
Exactly. So it just, there's something for everyone, I guess, is what I would say with that. And how many, just out of interest, how many sheets did you manage to get out of the bottle kits, sort of?
I actually only mixed what we needed. I've only got a small group, so we just prepped what we needed, kept them in a bag in the drawer, and then I sort of like used them a few times. So no, it was nice for them to sort of do the mixing as well.
Completely, it just feels a lot more fulfilling, doesn't it, to have, you know, you're experimenting and you're having some element of control, but actually sometimes, you know, when, like you say, you get mixed results, but then you're able to discuss and look back on the process as well.
I think because obviously you can see the brush strokes things, and what I didn't do and what I perhaps need to get them to go back to is actually paint with it, and then
Yeah.
expose it and see what results
Yeah.
they can get as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. No, it's great to hear it's working out well and you're sort of using it, especially.
Yeah.
And
it was a bit. It was literally. It was one of those. It's not difficult.
No.
I think is the
Exactly.
idea is that I was a bit tentative. It's
Yeah.
like, oh right, you literally put those two chemicals in a cup together and we're good to
Yeah.
go.
I mean, I'd use them for like, welcome to sixth form kind of days. What can you do in half an hour that's going to have quite a good outcome? And it is quite good for that. It's quite good for open evenings because you don't basically need to do a massive amount of input beforehand. You pretty much can do a quick demo, get straight into it, and then you can kind of, in a way, it's one of those where you discuss it afterwards.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I just wondered, Amanda, how do you think your students would enjoy doing something like that with like outdoor learning? Or
yeah, definitely. We do have an artist that comes in on a Monday.
Oh, great.
So she's
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I'll ask her first if she's thinking of doing anything first. But
yeah. So, okay, all right. Well, just as regards buying the stuff, I get mine from somewhere called First Call Photographic. I have tried. You can buy whole class kits as well for like 30 kids and stuff. There are sort of the really thin papers you can buy, and I just would not recommend buying those just because they tear really easily, and if they get too wet, then that's it. They sort of start to crumble away. So yeah.
Great. Excellent. Thanks so much, Katie. It's really good to kind of introduce something new. And really, while you're here, it'd be so good for me to know what people are interested in next time we meet, and whether this sort of aspect of bringing in an artist and sharing something feels like a good development for the Culturemeets. I really appreciate being able to talk about something and have something practical to see and something that you can take away and do. So I really appreciate Katie for coming along and sharing that today. Thank you, Katie. But it'd be great if you've got other ideas of things that you'd like to find out about, whether it's techniques or speakers for the next Culturemeet. And of this group, it's the 23rd of January, the next one, so it's a little way away. We've got time, and you can email me as well. But if there's any thoughts that you've got around what you'd like to see and who you might like to invite next time, we're able to do that, so let us know. Just because I don't think I was recording when I mentioned the Cultural Rucksack A to Z directory, so just before we go, I just wanted to give it another plug to say, if you go on the Challenge website, www.challengenottingham.co.uk, you can get a PDF version of a new A to Z directory, which has been put together with lots of information from lots of arts partners across the city that you can connect with. And there's also a actual printed copy that you can get your hands on, and it would be really good to make sure that gets to the right person in your school. So if you email me your name and address, I can make sure that it comes directly to you. All right, so thank you so much for coming. If has anyone got any other questions or things they'd like to share before we say goodnight to each other? It's been really lovely. Thank you so much for coming and being part of this evening.
Yeah, that was really useful. Thank you. Really helpful.
Good.
To getting in touch with people. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's really good to meet you, Amanda. Thanks for coming. Excellent. Well, we'll be in touch. Keep in touch with each other in between times as well, if you'd like. I think it's really nice to get a secondary network sort of forming so that we can share ideas. So let's do it again. So we'll definitely got a date for the 23rd of January. You can book on Eventbrite now to come to that one, but just email us in the meantime. So I'm Kathy Mahmood, and my email is kathy@challengenottingham.co.uk, and we're here. So thanks very much for coming.
Thanks, Kim. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.